Elias Mukua, who is the director of the Jesuit Hakimani and also a lecturer at the University of Nairobi. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
So you are a Jesuit, and we've run a story on the Jesuits because it created much anticipation. But take us back a little bit to 2013. White smoke, and he was revealed as the next Pope, the 266th Pope. What was that moment like for you?
Well, it was very exciting, the very first few seconds of his announcement. But then he gave us a shock, the first shock of the type of Pope he will become. He said, "Bless me." We're used to the Pope blessing us. The first thing he said, "Bless me." And that was a shock, because totally different man, totally different character, a very different type of a Pope. So it was good. That is a Jesuit.
Yeah.
We didn't expect it,
right,
because actually in the tradition and belief, the charism, the constitution of the Society of Jesus, who are Jesuits, we vow to serve the Pope, to be at the service of the Pope. So for years we have never had one, because that's where we owe our allegiance to. And then the cardinals, in their wisdom, decide to elect a Pope with a Jesuit.
Okay.
So we were excited.
All right, that must have been a great moment. Let's talk a little bit about his message here today, and I know this is something that you hold dear. I want to quote what he said today. He said, "Be careful not to fall into the sin of lukewarmness." Could you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, being lukewarm is being neither good nor bad. You are not hot, you are not cold. So who are you? And actually he also calls it the globalization of indifference. We see many social problems, many social ills, including our own country here, corruption, and many other examples we can give. But then we do nothing. We get concerned, we feel it, we think about it, we analyze, we discuss, we debate, but at the end of the day, we do nothing. So you become indifferent. So you between concern and not concern.
So how do you address the issue of being lukewarm? What do you do? Because what you talk about is something that we see constantly on social media. An issue will be brought up, we'll talk about it, we will get angry about it, we will start hashtags, and we will talk about it for months in matatus and public transport, at newspaper vendors. You will see a lot of heated debate, and then after that we say, well, that's life, that's Kenya, tumezoea. Tunavumilia.
That's very dangerous, and that's how we let so many evils take root in our society. In the West, if, for example, a leader does something really bad, the leader must step aside, the leader must vacate office. But because of our culture, perhaps we have become too tolerant,
right,
and perhaps we have become too friendly, or we've become too, we have known each other too much, to an extent that if something goes wrong, we somehow have a mechanism, internal mechanism of letting it go.
So
now, how do we have to address that? First of all, the Pope said, yes, let us rationalize our faith, let us have feelings for the others, but more importantly, let us walk what we believe. So it's action. This Pope is a Pope of action. He doesn't want you to tell him, oh, this is the rich, this is the poor, bring out all these highly sounding discussions. He doesn't want that. What are you doing with the poor? So he's really pushing us to do something. Like today, he talked about the youth. Be agents of your own future. Take charge, take responsibility. Well, of course, that worries us, some of us who are out of that bracket of being young, because it's like we are the ones who have laid down the generations that are coming. And they're saying, do something. And that doing something is coming out of that lukewarm kind of situation. Okay,
I want to talk about his crossover appeal. There's results from an Infotrack Harris poll that is out today. It was conducted a couple of days before he came in, and it showed that Catholics and non-Catholics alike were excited about his visit, but more so to the very last message on that one. When Kenyans were asked, and this is on the very last one, we can show this on screen, when Kenyans were asked whether they think the Pope represents a major positive change for the direction of global leadership, 85% of Catholics and non-Catholics alike agreed with him. 97% of Catholics agreed. That's what you see on our big Super Bowl tonight. So tell us about this. What is this inspiration that he has? Already, as a global leader, we know about his efforts in the US and Cuba in terms of helping them, recapture their diplomatic ties after decades of not doing that, 50 years, I believe. What is it about him?
Well, he's a very different Pope. He's a bottom-up kind of leader. He's a person who begins with the person at the low pyramid of life. He's a person who wants to touch the marginalized. And the church, or the believers in general, religious institutions, are really meant to address the plight of the poor. People want to hear a different message, concern, support for the poor, or for the people who may not be poor but who are kind of oppressed by structures. And the Pope is beginning there. He's saying, look, you have good things up there, you have good rules, you have good systems in place, structures, processes, and so on, but what are you doing with the poor? And there are many people across the world who are poor, and that's why he has a lot of support. Now that leaves us with one problem: to the leaders up there like him. I don't think most, like this question at the direction of global leadership. I think that's tricky because there's no guarantee that they're going to support what he's saying.
Right.
At the bottom, there's a lot of support. But at the top, there might be people who are saying, why is this leader taking us? So I wouldn't say that it will change.
Okay.
Obviously, it will change. No, I wouldn't put it that way. He will challenge.
So challenging us, which is, a good thing to begin with.
Yeah.
So here's the challenge. He's leaving the country tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. He will leave the country after being with us for 3 days. Will we go back to being the same Kenyans that we were? In this poll, Kenyans asked, there were some things they wanted him to talk about: peaceful coexistence, corruption, tribalism, respect for human rights, exercising leadership. And right now we're in such a space, and today was a public holiday for us to pray and reflect. What should happen so that we can sustain this momentum, so that we have messages of peace? And what's been going on in the country at the moment. We're dealing with corruption. We're dealing with a lot of political rhetoric back and forth. How do we sustain the momentum we have at this moment beyond Friday, next week, 2 weeks, 1 month, a year from now?
I think there are two key messages that address that question. One, he was telling the religious leaders today, this afternoon, that you are there not to be served but to serve. And he really emphasized that. And he said, for you to serve, you need to pray. And it's only through prayer that you can manage. Now, when you serve, it can be difficult. And he did say that, look, walk yourself to the cross. Christ will take care of your resurrection. What does that mean? It's going to be difficult. It's going to be very difficult to come out of the challenges we have. But he expects leaders, all leaders, but especially his own religious people, to serve, to commit, to face the challenges, to cry. I was saying, cry for the poor, cry for the widows, cry for the marginalized, cry for the children.
Is that a message that also applies not just to leaders but to ordinary citizens?
Yes, of course, because he was saying, walk your faith. At the very end of the Mass, he said, be strong because you have faith. Now, if you have faith, you're going to move mountains. And we hope all the challenges facing her country will continue chasing them up. And it's like it's inspired us anew. It's really strongly reminded us that change is possible. Don't sit. Don't be indifferent.
Don't be indifferent. Don't be lukewarm. Take a stand, one way or the other, because lukewarm never did help anybody.
It doesn't help.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Elias Mukua, brother.
Thank you.
We can say to Pope Francis. He's the director of the Jesuit Hakimani here, and also a lecturer at the University of Nairobi, talking to us about the Pope. So.